Welcome to the Hyperbeat Podcast. Each episode, we chat with fitness professionals to get the story behind the business they created.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Hyperbeat Podcast. I'm your host, Nick Tate. This is the first episode of Season 2, and we are opening with an absolute fire recording. We chat in studio with Dr. Paul Hermann, osteopath and founder of Stay Tuned Sports Medicine. Dr. Paul chats through the early days of his career, founding and growing Stay Tuned to 2 locations in Melbourne, his charity work, and the importance of growing a personal brand. My first question to Dr. Paul, if you've never heard of osteopathy, what would be the best way to describe it?
Great question. Osteopathy is manual medicine. It's similar to physiotherapy and chiropractic, but there are as many variations amongst osteopaths as there are amongst physios and chiros. It's, as I say, a manual medicine that takes the whole health of the patient into consideration and tries to address all aspects of the health via manual therapy.
Okay, so what kind of injuries would I be coming to you with if I...
Most common, neck pain, back pain, headaches, sporting injuries. To a lesser extent, we see peripheral joint injuries, so ankle injuries, knee injuries, hips. Some people come for general well-being and health, so they'll come as a proactive patient without many injuries, but to keep themselves healthy, to keep themselves moving in the best way as possible. But yeah, most common is definitely neck pain, back pain, headaches.
And would most people be an athlete or someone into a lot of sports, or are they just general
population, day to day?
Yep.
Athletes make up a small percentage of general clinic presentations. In our clinic, being a sports medicine clinic, we see more athletes than most other clinics, but it's still a small percentage of what we see every day.
Okay. So you've got 2 clinics now. Where are they located?
In Melbourne, in Elwood, in the Bayside suburb, and out near the Dandenongs in Baronia.
Okay. So if we go back to the early days, is it something you trained in and something you thought you were always going to be, or did it kind of just happen one day where you this is the path I'm going to take? Or
really interesting.
What's the origin story?
I had no idea what an osteopath was through most of my childhood.
Yep.
I started off, I was a basketball player when I was very young.
Cool.
And had injuries myself, lots of ankle injuries and lots of lower back pain. And I saw lots of different therapists, physios, massage therapists, and we couldn't quite get to the cause of the problem. And I was studying personal training at the time, and I was also at uni studying PE teaching and human movement.
Okay. So you've always been in the world of fitness.
Absolutely, yeah. I've always liked fitness and health, but I had no idea what an osteo was.
Yep.
So in the second year of this, I was working at the gym where my Baronia clinic is now, as a personal trainer and gym instructor, and one of the girls there was studying this osteopathy and said, why don't you come to the clinic in the city and get your back looked at and see what they can work out? Thought, I'll give it a try. Went and saw this great guy, Peter Baziotis, who looked me up and down, did all the assessments, did everything that you would expect, and then went, do you train a lot with your legs? I said, yeah, actually I do a lot of squats and trying to get my jump up as much as I can. And he said, do you stretch your hamstrings much? I said, no, I've got to be honest, not so often. And he determined via a bunch of tests that there was a fairly significant contributing factor of my short hamstrings or tight hamstrings affecting my lower back. Gave me some stretches and exercises to do. And lo and behold, I did them, and back pain got a lot better. So I instantly fell in love with this detective approach that he had to the cause of the problem. And yeah, that was it. I was hooked. Asked the girl how to get in, went through the application process, and after 2 years at Deakin, I transferred into osteopathy at Victoria University.
Oh, wow. Okay. So did you take the normal path of going out and getting a job after uni, or did you go straight into starting your own business, or what was the process there?
Again, I'm not very good at doing the normal thing. So I continued working at the gym as a personal trainer. Yep. And when I was in 3rd year, I registered as a massage therapist and started working as a massage therapist and a personal trainer. In 4th year, I thought I was sending all these patients off to an osteopath down the road, and she expressed interest in coming and joining us to be able to work at the gym. Okay. So we had a great meeting with her clinic at the time, and they said, yes, that's fantastic, really great for her career. So she actually joined us while I was in 4th year. So it was a weird circumstance being a 4th year osteo student in a 5-year course, and yet having an osteopath who was working, I'll say with me, but essentially for the business. Yep. And then by the time I was in 5th year, we had a dietitian, myself, the osteopath, another massage therapist.
Wow. So it really took off in that kind of first
months. We were all part-time,
Yep.
And she was a lecturer at university as well, the osteopath. And but we're all part-time, and it definitely grew. By the time I graduated in 5th year, I had 6 staff.
Wow, fantastic.
And we were all working out of one room, so there was a lot of juggling.
So if you've already started, you've already got one clinic. Well, the early days, did you have quite a few clients, or did that take a while to build up before you could all kind of go full time? Or?
I was quite lucky, I guess, that because I'd been in the gym for so long, I actually started in that gym as a child, I was a 15-year-old working in the cafe. So I was serving donuts and coffees to everybody. Then started working at the reception admin area, then the gym, became a personal trainer. So I knew a lot of the centre, and I think it's the 3rd biggest fitness complex in Victoria currently, and has always been a very large complex. It's got a big Olympic swimming pool, hydro pool, council-owned facility. So there was a great sized community that I got to know through those years. So by the time I graduated, I was already doing probably 15 to 20 consultations a week as a massage therapist and personal trainer. And of course, once I qualified then as an osteopath, a lot of those people then came to see me with any injuries or concerns they had as an osteopath. So I was a little bit on the front foot there, and a little bit, I guess, the ball was already rolling in that regard.
Well, you got to take advantage of the things that are already around you. So, I mean, why not? Today, you've got the 2 clinics, and you offer a much wider range of services to people. Do you want to run through a little bit about what they are and how?
Yeah, so Boronia continued to grow. The essence and I guess the intention was always to have a multidisciplinary clinic, an allied health multidisciplinary. So we don't have general practitioners, but we have a wide variety of allied health practitioners at the Boronia Clinic. We have dietitians, psychology, podiatry, osteo, physio, massage, myotherapy. In the past, we've had Chinese medicine, naturopathy, and we always wanted to have that complete kind of picture of allied health. And we've achieved that in Boronia. We have 5 clinic rooms there and a very busy clinic with must be 14, 15 practitioners working out of there now. We have a few full-time, but most of them are part-time. So that continued to grow, and we've continued along that same pathway. And then around 2005, I fell in love with this suburb, Elwood, in Bayside. A friend of mine was living there. Used to go and visit her all the time, and we'd just go for walks. I'm like, this place is great. I'd love to live here. 2006, I got bitten by the bug and moved to Elwood. Absolutely loved it. We opened a clinic later that year in 2006 in Elwood, because I just wanted to have a clinic that was close to home.
Can I just jump in there? So how did you know it was the right time? You obviously love the suburb. That's great in itself. But having the amount of business to open a second location, how comfortable were you in that decision, or were you taking a bit of a leap of faith?
It was definitely a leap of faith. In hindsight, it wasn't probably the greatest business decision, but a very good lifestyle decision.
Yeah, cool.
And I wouldn't suggest this is a great approach for any new business person, but I tend to be one that takes a leap and then works out how to achieve it.
Okay.
Again, wouldn't suggest that's the best approach for everybody. It's certainly caused its headaches and it's caused its challenges over the years. But I wanted to have a clinic that was close to home. The idea for me of being able to walk or skateboard to work in the morning, a couple of days a week even, is just bliss. And I still do that to this day, and it's fantastic. I also feel like I have the best of both worlds. I've got a clinic that's near the hills, near the Dandenongs, and I've got one that's right near the beach. So if I finish work and I want to go for a run on the beach, awesome. I can. Yep. The other clinic, if I finish work and want to go for a run in the hills, also the same. So I'm very blessed in that way.
You seem to be a very busy person. You've got a lot going on. You've done teaching at VU and RMIT. You've done some international speaking as well. And you've also got a foundation, Stay Tuned for Others. And you've written a book. So we go through a couple of those. Let's start with the foundation.
Sure.
Background on that, why you set it up, what you want to achieve with it.
It was actually the intention. Well, I guess I have a belief that similar to Simon Sinek, for those who know him, is always that start with your why. And our why was always that we believe everybody deserves to feel good. That's our phrase, it's our motto, it's the driving thing for everything we do in business. So any business decision, clinical, cultural or commercial we make runs through that phrase. Does this help people feel good, or other, I guess, animals, beings, environment, community, etc. feel good? If not, we simply don't do it. So starting with that why, we thought, what can we do to help others beyond the one-on-one interaction we have with our patients? And one of the principles came out of this, or the principle that led to an action was, we've got these skills. We've got osteopaths, physios, dietitians. We've all got our clinical skills, and we can help the patients. But how do we help the patients help others? So Stay Tuned for Others was born. And it's simply that we run days where we all volunteer our time. You as the patient comes to our clinic, has your normal consultation that you would have, and you get to choose which charity your consultation fee goes to.
Oh, wow.
So each day we run, we might
That's a
have
nice idea.
4 or 5 previously decided charities that you get to pick from, and they rotate through. And you come along, you have a consultation fee, and you get the choice of where the money goes.
Okay,
we
yeah.
work for free, and you get to help others.
Has that been running successfully? Has people been really getting behind that?
Yeah, we started the process probably. The concept came out about 5 years ago. Took a long time to work on because it's one of those things that I've got to do in my spare time, if there is such a thing.
Any spare time.
Yeah, exactly. So it has taken many years to come to fruition, and we had our first day of this recently for the bushfire appeal.
Oh, great.
And it got fantastic support.
Yeah.
As a community, we did it in Elwood, and the community got really behind it.
That's
the
fantastic.
Practitioners, the staff, the reception staff all got behind it. And I was really impressed and really blessed by my team as to how much they got behind this idea.
Paul, there's would you call it a sub-charity? No,
I guess an arm of the foundation. Something like that.
There's a second arm of Stay Tuned Foundation. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure, yeah. I grew up as a 6'1", eventually, pale, freckly, redhead guy. And as we all know, children can be pretty cruel at times, and they give you all sorts of, we'll say, interesting names when you're growing up as a redhead. And I got to a certain point in business where we were talking about this foundation, talking about Stay Tuned for Others, talking about what we could do to exponentially help other beings. And as I said before, we truly believe in our team that everybody deserves to feel good. Now, that's not just limited to humans, but everybody. We have a Ditch the Disposable campaign because we believe in trying to reduce the amount of takeaway cups that are in our local environment and community. Because you know what? Dolphins deserve to be able to swim without getting plastic, and turtles and everything we see on all the social media and TV now, which is great. So we wanted to extend that help to others exponentially. And for me, the personal connection was orangutans. A friend of mine had just come back from Borneo where he had volunteered some time with the Borneo Orangutan Survival Foundation and had been in the forest working with the orangutans and the Sumatran sun bears, and just inspired me to get involved. So we adopted our first orangutan, must have been 2007, 2008 was our first one, an orangutan called Dodo. And we now have 9 orangutans that we've adopted, so we have a full family.
Wow, okay.
And of course, anybody can adopt these. You can go to Borneo Orangutan Survival Foundation website or go to the Stay Tuned website, and there's links there. You can adopt your own orangutan. And each orangutan can be adopted by hundreds or thousands of people. The money goes straight to the foundation and helps support reforestation, release, retraining. Some of these orangutans come as orphans, so their parents are either unfortunately killed or are taken as pets, and they get them and they have to almost teach them how to be an orangutan again. And then the great news is they get released back into the wild, and they're free to do what they were supposed to do in the first place. Go and be orangutans.
So you're using the Stay Tuned Foundation to fund that?
Yeah, so a little portion of every single consultation goes towards the Stay Tuned Foundation. 100% of those fees. We have zero admin costs because we absorb all of those as a business, and 100% of those fees go to adopting another orangutan. So every time we get to a certain point, we just sign on for another orangutan.
Yeah, awesome.
We have a guarantee with Boss too that when we adopt an orangutan, we continue adopting that orangutan ongoing until they get released, and then you actually can't adopt them any longer because they're out in the wild doing their thing.
Yeah, and then the money goes to another.
And then we swap it over to another orangutan.
Yeah, fantastic. The book that you wrote, we'll talk a little bit about that, but I also want to know how the book helped you establish your own personal brand.
Sure.
So has that led to other opportunities because you've written the book?
Yeah, definitely. It came out of a personal desire. So at the end of osteopathy at Victoria University, we had a 2-year master's program. So you had a 3-year clinical degree and then a 2-year master's in health science osteo. As part of that master's, you had to do a research project. So leading towards the 4th year, I was thinking, what am I going to do the project on? What am I passionate about? And most, like all of my decisions, are based more around passion than they are around logistics or reasonable sense. So my passion was driven from why I got into osteo. I got into osteo because I had a bad lower back. I had quite a sore lower back. I thought, what can we do from an exercise therapy or exercise management point here to help people potentially with their lower back? Now, of course, as a researcher, you go into these things hoping that something works, but you have to not be biased towards whether it's going to work or not as well. So I wanted to know, was there exercises? I was very much in love with the Swiss ball, the big exercise fit balls that people use. And I wanted to see whether they had an effect on the, we'll call it stability, but the lumbar pelvic control. So small muscle joint control in the lower back to pelvis. So we did a research project looking at 2 groups, some that we had pre and post tests, some did some general exercises, some did some Swiss ball exercises, and we wanted to see which group improved the most. Now I'll preface this with, it was a very small group. Okay. It's not I wouldn't even call it a significant outcome in terms of research and science. Okay. It would be a pilot study that someone could then take and get larger groups and actually see if the effect was amplified or maintained over a larger population. But it was really interesting to see people participating in it and see that they did get some results. And in the small samples we had, the Swiss ball group definitely got better results in improving their lumbar pelvic control than the non-Swiss ball group or the control group. Okay. Again, smaller study sizes. But from that, I was obviously creating manuals for these people to use for their Swiss ball exercises. And the manuals simply turned into a book. And then I had a book on Swiss ball exercises called Effective Swiss Ball Training.
Has it led to the public speaking and the university work? Or?
At the time, it was 2001, and not many people were doing Swiss ball workshops. Yeah. So a lot of people were using them as individuals, but a lot of gyms and personal training studios back in 2001 didn't have Swiss balls. So this is towards the end of 2001, we finished it and got the book out there, and I found myself running around Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, all over Australia with Swiss balls. So I'd fly somewhere. Australian Barbell Company, who've been a great support of mine over the years, would send up a box of Swiss balls. We'd show up at a workshop on a Sunday morning, be pumping up 25 Swiss balls for this workshop, and then teaching everybody. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we had hand pumps and foot pumps until we realised that a compressor was a better idea. And we'd pump up all these Swiss balls, teach a 6-hour workshop, and then fly back home. Yep. At the same time, I was still playing basketball, so I might play a Saturday night game, be on a plane Sunday morning, fly to Sydney, teach a 6-hour workshop, fly home and go back to work on Monday morning. And you have to love these things. If you don't love them, there's no way you could maintain this kind of schedule. But I truly did love what I was doing. I really believed that this was helping people and especially empowering them to help themselves. You know, as therapists, we help people get back on track. We help keep them on track, but it's up to them to really do the things we advise and to take control of their own health and well-being, and this is just one way they can do that.
I think it's interesting in that when someone does release a load of information like that, whether it be through a book or it might be a podcast or whatever, that it helps them not only establish their brand, but it also brings their business along with them, because it means that people see you as an authority, they want to talk to you, they want to get you out. That in turn gets more clients for your business, and it just seems to grow that way.
I've been asked this question a lot, and I believe it certainly does. It helps your brand, it helps all those aspects. But I believe if you do it for those reasons, you'll probably fail.
That's a very good point, yeah.
You've got to do it for the passion.
Yeah, you've got the passion for it, and it leads out of that. So,
And if it's a real honest desire to get that information out, whatever that may be, or to help people in whatever way you're helping, then the outcome of those things or those activities will be beneficial. But if you're doing it for those outcomes, I believe that people are really smart. They'll see through that stuff.
Yeah, well, you took the words out of my mouth. I was about to say, I think people are able to see through the people that may be doing it for their own reasons. But if you're certainly passionate about it, you seem to get a tribe of people behind you.
Yeah, and I ended up teaching. I was teaching in universities in Milan. I've taught in London. I've taught in Japan. I've taught in Canada. I've taught in lots of places, but never sought those gigs. They've just come via. Someone might come to a workshop and go, hey, I know this contact here. I'm going to ask them if you can come and do a workshop. Great.
So working in those places, does that involve you actually living there or flying in for a certain amount of time and doing your thing? And
flying in and flying out usually. Yeah. I was lucky in some circumstances, so I might teach in Milan and I'll attach a holiday to it. Yeah, cool. You always want to make the most of it if you're going to fly that far away, definitely.
Exactly right. Especially to a place like that.
Yep.
So future goals for Stay Tuned? Do you envisage more clinics being open, more services being brought on? What's
it's always a tricky question.
Domination goal?
I'm a big believer in always prepare and never plan. We're also very strong in our passion to maintain our everybody deserves to feel good driving force behind everything we do. So our goals are really based around, goals and decisions are based around that everybody deserves to feel good principle. We want to keep trying to be our best at what we do, but we don't necessarily need to be the best. There's fantastic clinics out there doing fantastic things, even within our community. And at the end of the day, if we're all helping people get healthier and happier, then we're all achieving our purpose, and we'll all be busy and we'll all be successful because we're helping people. So our primary goal is to continue what we're doing and try and do it as best as we possibly can. We have some room to grow at each of our clinics. We don't have any current intentions to open up a third or fourth. I'm sure this is fantastic news to my practice manager. It stops her getting more headaches, and probably to my friends who don't see me that often. But certainly within the 2 clinics we have, we just want to keep supporting those communities, get more engaged with our local communities, especially in the area of our foundation, especially in growing that support for the Ditch the Disposable campaign, for the Stay Tuned for Others, and continue supporting the Borneo Orangutan Survival Foundation.
And across social media, you guys are pushing out a fair amount of video content. So there's obviously an opportunity there for you to give out free knowledge and tips and tricks. How's that been working for you?
Yeah, so Stay Tuned's had its own social media channels, Instagram, Facebook, etc., for many years. And then we've got a social media manager, Fiona, who early last year said to me, you should get your own your own Instagram page, a professional one.
You in yourself, you're, like we said before, you're a brand.
Yeah, I'm not great at it, I've got to say.
Something's better than nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Under her very great guidance, I've made lots of videos and just their general exercise videos to help people, to help them help themselves. And it's fantastic because you can say to your patient, oh, look, there's this exercise. If you go to my Instagram page, you'll be able to see it. Yeah, nice. And we give them personalised programs with video connections and photos, etc. Anyway, but some of them come back and they'll go, oh, I saw this video on Instagram. Is this a good exercise for me? And I'll be like, yeah, great. That one will work well, or let's adjust that to be specific to your needs. But it's certainly, I think, from the feedback I've had, it helps people be empowered to help themselves and really take control of their own health and well-being.
Do you get people coming in doing the exercises wrong?
Yeah, sometimes. When people have come in and they've got the exercise from a social media channel that hasn't been prescribed to them specifically, sometimes it's not just that they're doing the exercise wrong, but it's the wrong exercise.
Right.
So as we say on every one of the exercises, if you have a specific problem, you should get a specific program for your specific needs and go to a physio, osteo, chiro, exercise physiologist, exercise scientist to get that specific program. So for general population who don't have specific problems, some of these exercises can be very helpful for them, can improve their strength, their flexibility, mobility, and arguably maybe help decrease the likelihood of getting injuries down the track. But yeah, if you've got a specific problem, you definitely want to get a personalised program by a professional.
Yeah, you don't want to do the old Dr. Google.
No, and equally important, not just to get the right program, but to be shown how to do the right program the right way.
Yeah, sure.
You can have a great program, but if you don't do it correctly, it's arguably just as damaging or dangerous as not doing anything.
All right, so Paul, do you want to touch on the best way for someone to establish themselves within their local community?
Definitely getting involved at a direct level is the key. We run an internship program at both of our clinics where student osteos and physios can come and join the clinic program, and they'll work, once they're qualified, they'll work at different sporting groups as sports trainers and first aid suppliers. We then absorb them into our team and they get to come to all our professional development sessions, clinic development, etc., and we support them in their work at the clubs. By doing so, we then sponsor the club itself. I'm a presenter for taping workshops through Elastoplast Australia as well, so we go in with a lot of goods and supplies by Elastoplast, so they get that support and they get the clinical support. Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah. So the club's really got a lot of support in that way, and they get the knowledge that they've got final year or second final year student in osteo or physio, so the players really get assisted in that regard. And it's a great way for your clinic staff to connect to local community. You know, some of our practitioners will go down to the games, go down to the training sessions, check out with the interns to make sure they're getting the help they need, and if there's any difficulties, answer all the questions, and also meet the players, get to know the coaches, give them some extra assistance as well. We've done this with football clubs, with Vic Beach Volleyball Victoria, netball clubs, soccer, rugby, even tennis and golf, and it's been fantastic for us to get into that community and really involve ourselves with those players at a sporting level.
So how do you go in and knock on the door or cold call? Or how do you actually get that first introduction to get into some of these
Nowadays,
places?
it's actually mostly that they approach us.
Right, okay.
So nowadays, we probably have more clubs interested in being supported and sponsored than we have interns available. Okay. At each clinic, we would probably have 4 or 5 clubs that we now support, and each one will have 2 to 3 trainers supporting them. So we end up with 10 to 15 interns at each clinic. Wow. And you've got to make sure that you still have the time and resources to support those interns to a high quality level and not just become a numbers game. We always want to make sure that we're giving good quality rather than just high quantity. So yeah, now it's actually reversed that they're approaching us. But in the early days, I mean, Vic Beach was probably the prime example. I was running along the beach in South Melbourne, saw all these guys playing beach volleyball and thought, oh, this is fantastic. We've got a big marquee that we've co-branded with Elastoplast. It goes to footy all winter, but it doesn't get used at all in summer. I wonder if these guys just want the marquee. Yep. So I rang them up and said, hey, do you guys want a free marquee? They're like, what for? I said, oh, you can use it for your first aid guy. I saw him standing out there, and it'd be great if you had a marquee and some more shade and weather support. And they're like, oh, sure. Yeah. So they've taken the marquee, and then we supported them with different training aspects for him, and through Elastoplast, different products, and then we continue to grow and grow and grow. And
so it's just that organic kind of conversation.
Absolutely.
Helps grow all that stuff. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how did you get involved with Elastoplast?
Oh, that's another good question. I have to think back. So it was probably 10, maybe 12 years ago. They came to our Boronia clinic, and as they do, asking what supplies we use.
So like a sales rep came to you, okay. Yep.
Yeah, what we were using at the time, we ended up wanting to go with their product, and I know this is going to be biased, and obviously it is, but I believe that their clinical product is the best quality on the market. And so we wanted to make sure that we had the best quality product for our patients in the clinic. And we started using them, got more and more involved over time. As an exercise scientist myself and being an osteopath, I use taping products quite a bit, both the K-tape and the rigid tape and a variety of the different products. And it just got to a point where I started teaching people how to do taping procedures. And then through Elastoplast, I became one of their national presenters. We've recorded YouTube videos, we've done workshops all around Australia. Yeah. So now, and also at my teaching gigs at RMIT and Vic Uni, I was teaching the students how to do clinical taping procedures. So the stuff we would do in clinic with patients. Not necessarily the sporting side of things, but more just the in-room clinic applications. So they saw a synergy between sports, clinic and myself, and maybe one of the national presenters with them. And since then it's been great, been able to teach all sorts of workshops to all sorts of people all around the place.
I think that comes, I know I keep harping on about personal brand in this particular episode, but that's a really great alignment between, a well-known, well-established brand and yourself, obviously, as a practitioner, someone who's an expert in their field. I mean, again, that just helps elevate you as a
definitely
person.
And like we said before, it has been a fantastic outcome without any intention in the first place for it to have that outcome. So again, I think if you're doing things for the right reasons, the right outcomes will always come your way. And we just wanted to make sure that these clubs had great support and had the right people doing the right things for them.
So it seems that it's all happening because of the way you approach the situations. You're doing it because you love the field, you're doing it because you want to help people, and all of that good stuff comes around again.
I had a mentor many years ago, a guy, Jeff, who's in Sydney, and he said, the most important thing in life is intention. All the rest is just details, and everybody, whether they recognise it or not, will always see your intention. And so if you've got clear and good intentions, people will see that and they'll connect with you, and those conversations become easier, networking becomes easier because your intention is simply to in this case, help people. So if that is, you're always driving your intention, the rest becomes a little bit easier.
So if people want to maybe come and see you, come down to your clinics or check you out across social media, what are the best ways to do that?
Good old Google is probably the greatest. Stay Tuned Sports Medicine. Look, we've got Facebook, the website staytuned.com.au, Instagram channels. My Instagram is paul.osteo.staytuned, and our clinics are in Elwood and Boronia, so they can check us out online, they can book online, they can contact us online, all the normal channels.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Well, Paul, mate, thank you for taking the time to come down and chat to us. It's been a fascinating conversation, and I always like talking to people that have got plenty of experience and passion in the work that they do, so we really appreciate it.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
If you'd like to be involved in an episode of the Hyperbeat Podcast, send an email to info@hyperbeat.com.au or contact us through our social media channels.